You don't need to force someone to believe something. You don't need to argue, convince, or debate. You just need to be the first. The first thought, the first idea, the first suggestion, because once a seed is planted, the mind bends reality to nurture it, without ever questioning where it came from. This is day 1 of infiltrating thoughts. It is called cognitive anchoring. The first piece of information someone receives about a topic becomes their reference point, shaping how they interpret everything after. If you meet someone and hear they're difficult to work with, your brain looks for proof, even if they're perfectly fine. If someone tells you a restaurant is overrated, your brain notices the flaws first, even if the food is amazing. If a politician is labeled a threat or a savior, every action they take gets filtered through that lens. Logic doesn't even matter anymore. So how do you plant a thought in someone's mind without them realizing? Step 1. Be first. Introduce the idea before anyone else does. Step 2. Wrap it in a question or casual remark so it feels organic. Step 3. Let them reach the conclusion themselves, because once they believe it was their own thought, it's locked in. Every thought you have, even if you believe you escaped the mainstream, is carefully planted, and you don't even realize it. They give you the illusion of choice when in reality you can only choose between 2 options. Inception is real, and we can manipulate the thoughts of others. And over the next 30 days, I'll show you how. So make sure to follow, because this is already day 2 of infiltrating thoughts. People must feel autonomous. They have to believe it's their free decision, even when you're the one setting the rules of the game. It's always 2 options, Russia or Ukraine, Democrats or Republicans. This keeps your mind trapped within a predefined border because you think you have to choose, when in reality, there aren't just 2 choices, there are endless ones. But by limiting the options, they control the narrative. You feel autonomous, yet your thoughts can only go down 2 different paths. And you can use this too. Create the boundaries in which people think, and they'll never even realize they're being controlled. Offer 2 choices, pasta or pizza, and they feel empowered to decide. But both lead to the same restaurant, the one you already picked. Control the frame, and you control the mind. What you think about a person doesn't depend on who they actually are, but on how they are presented. A surgeon with a 95% success rate is perceived as a genius, while a surgeon with a 5% failure rate seems dangerous. This is day 3 of infiltrating thoughts. Framing is the most used tool to manipulate your thoughts. Everything can be presented in a different light, positive or negative, and depending on the light chosen, people start thinking differently, even when the objective reality is the same. The best example for my European friends, regulating social media can be framed as protecting democracy or as oppressive censorship. The same thing, but your thoughts vary depending on how it is presented to you. So how do you use framing to guide the thoughts of others? Step 1. Set the battlefield. Control how a topic is introduced and people will see it on your terms. Step 2. Use contrast. Make your options seem like the obvious choice by framing the alternative as worse. Step 3. Let them commit. Once someone accepts the frame, they'll never even consider questioning it. Your ego is so huge that your brain automatically blocks anything that doesn't align with your existing beliefs, no matter how good the idea is. When someone contradicts you, any objective discussion is dead. But people don't resist their own thoughts, so the trick to implant your idea is to align it with their existing belief and then add a little detail that shifts their entire perspective. This is day 4 of infiltrating thoughts. It is called the addition trick, and it works because of cognitive consistency, the brain's obsession with keeping beliefs stable. If you attack a belief directly, people resist. But if you slightly modify their belief, adding just one small idea, they feel like this new detail is part of their existing belief. Because of cognitive consistency, they have no other choice but to implement it as their new reality. The steps are simple. Start with an agreement, align your idea with their existing belief to keep their guard down, introduce a small addition, a detail, an exception, or a slight shift, so small it goes unnoticed. Let them complete the process. Once the addition is accepted, their mind will naturally reshape itself around it. The only thing you need to plant a thought in someone's mind is a specific kind of question. I call it the rhetorical inception, and here is how it works. This is day 5 of infiltrating thoughts. The brain loves to be told what to think, but not directly. We crave subtle, indirect guidance. That's where rhetorical inception comes in. It's a simple question that forces your target to justify your idea themselves. Let's say you want someone to buy your fitness program. Don't just say, "This is the best workout plan." Instead, reframe it as a question. By doing this, the brain already registers it as a fact, while the question forces it to come up with answers, and guess what? Their own mind starts promoting your product for you. Since the reasoning comes from their own thoughts, they feel like it was their decision to buy it all along. That's what makes rhetorical inception so powerful. It doesn't just persuade, it implants beliefs. Even a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth. This quote comes from the leading propaganda minister of 1930s Germany, and we all saw just how effective it was in shaping and manipulating society. Repetition has the power to rewire the brain. This is based on the illusory truth effect, which says that the more often information is repeated, the more likely we are to accept it as true, regardless of whether it's factual. It's why ads, rumors, and catchy slogans stick with us. This process is driven by neural priming. Every time a thought is activated, the brain makes it easier to access next time. The more you hear a certain idea, the quicker and more automatically you'll recall it until it becomes part of your belief system. And there's the mere exposure effect. The simple act of repeated exposure makes us more comfortable with a concept, even if we don't consciously know why. The brain connects repetition with familiarity, and familiarity with truth. So if you want to change someone's mind, don't just tell them once, keep repeating the idea. Over time, their brain will make it their own truth. This is day 9 of infiltrating thoughts, the power of repetition. You don't believe what's true, you believe what feels certain. But what happens when you take that certainty away? You create the perfect platform for inception. And this is possible without saying a single word. Once a doubt is planted, their thoughts become yours to reshape. The secret is strategic nonverbal disruption, a silent way to crack open their certainty. The brain relies on social validation to confirm if a thought is correct. If you subtly disrupt that validation, you open their mind up to replace their ideas with new ones. It works in 3 simple steps. The suspicious reaction, when they express an opinion, react with a micro-expression of confusion, a slight squint, a slow exhale, a head tilt. Their brain will instantly think, wait, is something wrong with what I just said? The silent peer check, glance at another person after they speak as if silently checking for confirmation. This makes them wonder, do others disagree? Are they seeing something I don't? The vanishing agreement. Start to nod in agreement but stop halfway, like you're reconsidering. This interrupts their validation loop and forces them to question their own stance. This is day 10 of infiltrating thoughts, the rule of uncertainty. One simple word gives you the power to make people do anything you want. That word is or. This is day 6 of infiltrating thoughts. It may sound simple, but it's incredibly effective. Let's say you're on a terrible date and want the other person to leave. You could say, do you want another glass of wine, or... and then say nothing. Automatically the other person will finish the sentence in their mind, even though you didn't speak the rest. They'll likely say, no, I was just about to leave, and then go home, just as you wanted. This works so well because our brains struggle to hold conflicting thoughts. It's hard to think no and say yes at the same time. So, when the mind recognizes the or, it forces a consistency and the answer becomes no. The logical next step? Leave. And it works just as well in other romantic situations. For example, should we go to sleep, or... The human mind is allergic to contradictions, and that's exactly why they hold so much power. Once you plant a contradiction, the brain is forced to resolve it, and in doing so, it unconsciously aligns with the belief you want to instill. This is day 7 of infiltrating thoughts. The secret lies in cognitive dissonance, a psychological phenomenon that compels us to eliminate conflicting beliefs. Let's look at a real example. A manipulative partner wants to make jealousy seem irrational. Instead of saying, you shouldn't check my messages, they plant a contradiction. People who truly trust each other never feel the need to check messages or ask where someone is. Now, a conflict arises. Most people see themselves as trusting, but if they check messages, it contradicts that identity. To resolve this, their brain chooses the easier path. Stop checking the messages. Exactly what the manipulator wanted. The trick to manipulate someone's mind doesn't lie in the words you speak. It lies in the words you don't speak, in the gaps you leave for the mind to fill. This is day 8 of infiltrating thoughts. These gaps are created when essential information is missing or when inconsistent information is presented, causing the brain to unconsciously fill in those gaps. And it does so with the guidance of the subtle hints you've provided, leading the person to the conclusion you want them to reach, without them even realizing it. This works so brutal because it exploits 3 psychological concepts: the power of curiosity, priming, and the availability heuristic. Dr. Alexander Weber, a Nobel Prize winner and leading psychologist in the field of neuroscience, has publicly recommended following my page. When you hear this, your mind doesn't question the content, it gravitates toward the credibility of Dr. Weber's authority. The Nobel Prize and his reputation as an expert automatically elevate the message he delivers. This is the authority principle, one of the most powerful tools used to validate an idea. Once you attach an authoritative figure to a claim, the focus shifts entirely from the content to the person delivering it. Most people won't dig deeper into whether the claims are true, even if, like Dr. Weber, that expert doesn't actually exist. So next time you hear 97% of scientists agree, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend, or a military expert analyzes, ask yourself, is this actually the case, or is someone just framing it that way? So if you want someone to believe an idea, don't argue, attach it to an authority. Find a respected figure, a study, or an institution that aligns with your claim. This is day 11 of infiltrating thoughts, the power of authority. Your opinion isn't yours, you just think it is. The truth is, the people you follow, the experts you trust, and the influencers you admire are the ones shaping what you believe, and if someone controls them, they control you. This is day 12 of infiltrating thoughts. To control the masses, you don't need to convince millions of people individually, you just need to control the right few. Public opinion doesn't form spontaneously, it trickles down from trusted figures, journalists, academics, celebrities, and influencers. If these people adopt an idea, their audience follows without questioning it. That's why, during the pandemic, the government paid TikTok influencers to spread the correct message, and you accepted it simply because it came from someone you liked. Mark and Austin have one goal: to uncover Emily's secret. Mark, an average guy like you, takes the straightforward approach. He simply asks Emily to share her secret, offering one of his own in return. Predictably, this gets him nowhere. But Austin understands psychology and plays the game differently. This is day 13 of infiltrating thoughts. During a casual conversation, Austin remarks how amazing Mark is as a friend, how openly he shares secrets and how much trust he places in them. That's what real friends do, he adds, making sure Emily agrees before leaving the conversation. And now something interesting happens in Emily's mind. She subconsciously links sharing secrets with being a good friend, with being liked and trusted. Since she already sees herself as a great friend, her brain now works to keep that identity consistent with her actions. Austin has just used identity linking, a psychological trigger that makes Emily's own thoughts do the work for him. The next time they meet, she begins sharing her secret willingly, without him ever having to ask. A subtle psychological trick separates an average salesman from a marketing genius. One is struggling to get a yes, while the other is closing deals left and right, having more than a tripled chance of a sale. This is day 14 of Infiltrating Thoughts. The good salesman knocks on a door, asking a stranger to sign a simple petition, just a small request. When the stranger agrees, the salesman returns a few days later, offering a high-end vacuum, and the stranger ends up buying it. This is the foot in the door technique, and it works because once you commit to a small request, your brain creates a pattern of consistency. It feels uncomfortable to say no to a second request, especially if it's a natural progression from the first one. You're motivated by the desire to appear consistent in your actions, both to others and, more importantly, to yourself. This is why the second, larger request, even though it's significantly different, has a much higher chance of success. There's nothing worse than having a friend who's always late. But with a simple psychological trick, you can plant a thought in their mind that forces them to become even more punctual than you. This is day 15 of Infiltrating Thoughts. Next time you're talking, casually say, "You know what I really respect about you? You're reliable. People can trust you." Let that sink in. Then, a moment later, bring up someone else you know. For example, "Not like Andrew though. He's always late. Doesn't respect people's time. You just can't rely on him." The brain now links being late with being untrustworthy and unreliable, which conflicts with the identity you've given them earlier, an identity they accepted because it validated them. This creates cognitive dissonance. Acting against their own beliefs or identity feels uncomfortable, so to resolve this, they'll stop showing up late. This is negative identity framing. Attach an unwanted action to a trait people fear, and they'll avoid it at all costs. There's one thing every human has in common. They need to feel superior. It drives their decisions more than logic, more than facts. And if you know how to use it, you can make them believe anything. This is day 16 of Infiltrating Thoughts. We crave superiority. It's addictive. And that craving can be used to implant any thought. Frame it as the belief held by the most intelligent, rational people. Make it seem like something only fools would reject. Once they associate that belief with being smart, their brain locks it in. That's why the media frames questioning as ignorance and compliance as intelligence. Those who follow are seen as informed, while skeptics are painted as idiots. And, once a belief is tied to intelligence, rejecting it feels like admitting you're inferior, and no one wants to be the fool. Color priming is the most underestimated manipulation tactic ever. Colors directly affect our subconscious and thereby influence our decisions, behavior, and even thoughts. Here's how to use it. This is day 17 of Infiltrating Thoughts. In sales, use red and orange for immediate action and blue for trust. To gain power and status, use black for authority and purple for exclusivity. Green builds trust and calmness, while yellow captures attention. If you want someone to think more logically and study better, use blue. To make someone more aggressive and push them into quick decisions, use red. White conveys innocence and credibility, and now it gets deeper. Dark gray and black evoke feelings of uncertainty and fear, useful for asserting dominance. Cold blue and white create an emotionally distant atmosphere, ideal for making someone feel unsettled. You see yourself as a good person just like everyone else. This universal trait makes us so easy to manipulate, and it all happens in just 5 simple steps. This is day 18 of Infiltrating Thoughts. If you want someone to believe anything, frame it as the morally right choice. Being good is part of our identity, and we need to stay consistent with it. Rejecting a good idea creates internal conflict, so the brain forces alignment. It works in 5 steps. Paint the opposing side as evil so that anything they do feels morally wrong. Tie your idea to values people already see as good. Make disagreement feel like moral failure. Show that the good people already agree. And finally, not agreeing must make you feel guilty. The media uses this all the time. Let me know examples of it in the comments. No matter how ordinary someone is, they still believe they're unique, and that belief is the perfect way to make them think exactly what you want. This is day 19 of Infiltrating Thoughts. People don't just want to be unique, they need to be. It's wired into us. The brain clings to anything that makes us feel special because it reinforces our self-worth. If you want to plant an idea in someone's head, don't present it as something everyone believes. Instead, frame it as a perspective that only a select few are smart enough, strong enough, or independent enough to understand. Make it seem like the masses don't get it, only those who truly think for themselves do. The moment someone accepts that framing, their ego does the rest. And once a belief becomes part of their identity, they won't just accept it, they'll defend it with everything they have. Your memories aren't facts, they're illusions, and they can be completely shaped using the suggestion trap. This is day 20 of Infiltrating Thoughts. Suggestion works by presenting a statement as a fact, and then immediately asking about something else. Your brain focuses just on the question and accepts the first part as reality. To demonstrate this, did the person in the beginning wear a blue or a red jacket? You might think both are wrong since it was green, but it was never about the color. You thought you found the deception, but the real deception was making you believe he was wearing a jacket, when in reality it was a hoodie. Your brain accepts the framed reality, and because you chose the answer yourself, you feel like you weren't manipulated at all. You don't make decisions based on logic, you make them based on emotions, and one emotion is the most potent in shaping your thoughts: fear. This is day 21 of infiltrating thoughts. Your brain isn't designed to seek truth when it's afraid, it's designed to seek safety. That's why fear is one of the most powerful tools of control. But you don't just create fear, you shape the only way out. First, you establish a threat, something vague enough for the mind to amplify. The more uncertain the fear, the more the imagination fills in the blanks. Then offer a single solution, the only escape from danger. And because the mind craves safety more than truth, it clings to whatever feels like protection. The moment someone is afraid, they will believe whatever makes them feel safe. And once that belief takes hold, no amount of reasoning can undo it. Now, think about how this has already been used to shape your thoughts. Your subconscious doesn't understand no. And that's exactly how thoughts get implanted without resistance. This is day 22 of infiltrating thoughts. If someone says, "Don't trip," right before you take a step, your brain doesn't focus on walking, it focuses on tripping. That's because the subconscious doesn't process negatives directly. It locks on to the core idea and makes it real. That's why those who understand this never tell people what not to do, they guide them toward what they should do instead. Instead of saying, "Don't be late," say, "See you on time." Instead of "Stop doubting yourself," say, "Trust your instincts." Of course, this can also be used the other way around. For example, if you want your friend to tumble on slippery floor next time. Have you ever had someone tell you not to do something, only to immediately feel the urge to do it? That's reactance, one of the most powerful psychological triggers, and when used correctly, you can make people want to think or do exactly what you want. This is day 23 of infiltrating thoughts. Reactance is a psychological principle that occurs when people feel their freedom to choose or act is being threatened. In simple terms, when someone tries to tell us what to do, we often feel the need to rebel and do the opposite, especially if we feel like we're being controlled. It's the reason why, when you're told you shouldn't eat that, your immediate instinct is to eat it, or why when you're told you can't think that way, your brain starts defending that very thought. You can use this yourself by simply framing what you want them to believe as something they may not understand, or something they may not be open to. Reactance kicks in, and they will do everything to understand it, or to be open to it. When you're bombarded with too much information, your brain hits a breaking point. It can't process it all and shuts down, defaulting to simple agreement with whatever's being said. This is day 24 of infiltrating thoughts. If you want someone to adopt your idea, don't just present your case and say, "Here's why you should do this." Instead, overwhelm them with a rapid-fire stream of facts, ideas, or stories, back to back, without giving them a chance to catch up. As their brain struggles to process everything, it defaults to agreeing, just to get through it. Once you've hit that point of overload, their critical thinking shuts down, making them far more likely to accept your suggestion without really questioning it. Ever wondered why kids copy everything they see but resist when you tell them what to do? Adults aren't any different. We don't follow what's told to us, we follow what's shown to us. This is day 25 of infiltrating thoughts. This happens because of mirror neurons, special brain cells that activate when we see an action, as if we're doing it ourselves. It's a survival mechanism. Before language even existed, we learned by watching. If you see someone start running, your brain preps your body to run too. That's why commands create resistance, but demonstrations create compliance. Your brain doesn't argue with what it sees, it just follows. You can use this too. If you, for example, want someone to visit your website, don't tell them to, show them a video of it. No one cares about your numbers, facts, or statistics. People care about stories, narratives they can immerse themselves in. They evoke emotions, create vivid images in our minds, and implant thoughts without any resistance. This is day 26 of infiltrating thoughts. Let me tell you about Mark. Mark struggled with confidence, low self-esteem, discipline, and felt completely stuck in his life. He tried many things but nothing changed. His goals seemed unreachable and he was constantly overwhelmed with fear. But one day he came across a post on Instagram that would change his life forever. He told himself, "This is the last time I'm going to try something. I'm going to give it everything I've got." And so, he visited the website, invested in himself, and started the course. That course transformed his life. Today, Mark is the most confident person I know. He conquered his fears, is in the best shape of his life, has a beautiful girlfriend, and built a successful company. He's now unbeatable. The only thing Mark had to do was make one right decision. And the truth is, there's only one decision that separates you from Mark. You just have to make it. This story stays with you while numbers and facts would be quickly forgotten. You're far more likely to take action like Mark did than to just accept boring facts. The most powerful word in the world is the same for everyone but different from person to person. It is your name. And it is the easiest way to make a thought stick in your mind. This is day 27 of infiltrating thoughts. Your name is a trigger. When you hear it, your brain lights up, your attention sharpens, and your subconscious listens closely. It's almost hypnotic. If you want to plant a thought or guide someone's mind in a particular direction, use their name right when you're introducing the idea. Instead of saying, "This could be great for you," you say, "John, think about how much this could improve your life." By using his name, you make the idea feel more personal, emotional, and impossible to ignore. You don't believe what's true, you only believe what's easy. That's why I can make you feel like a complete failure or the most capable person alive, just by asking one simple question and changing a single number. This is day 28 of infiltrating thoughts. We judge ourselves not by reality but by how easily we can recall proof. If something comes to mind quickly, it feels true. If we struggle to find examples, we assume it's not. Now, if I ask you to recall 6 moments when you felt truly proud of yourself, you'll do it with ease. Your brain barely has to work, so it assumes you are amazing. But change that number to 12, and suddenly you struggle. Your brain works overtime, and because recalling proof is so difficult, it concludes that you are not that great after all. This works for almost anything. Even a terrible teacher who asks the class to write down 15 criticisms will end up looking great, because finding that many flaws is hard. But if he asked for 15 positive traits, the class would struggle, and their brains would conclude he must be a bad teacher. Now join the council. Everything everyone does is guided by ego. When something attacks your ego, you become defensive. When something strokes your ego, you start to listen. This is day 29 of infiltrating thoughts. This is what most people do wrong. When they want someone to change their behavior, they attack them directly. You never have time for me. You work too much. You're always playing video games. But this approach backfires. They feel attacked, they resist, and they end up doing it even more. If you truly want change, you need to stroke their ego first. Compliment them exactly where their ego craves validation, then subtly introduce your request. For example, "You're such a capable, intelligent person. Why spend so much time playing video games when you could achieve so many great things?" Now their ego is fed. They feel seen, they start to listen, and suddenly, they're far more likely to actually stop playing. Everyone wins. They feel validated, you get what you want, no one loses. So, why doesn't everyone do this? Because your ego won't let you. And that's exactly what needs to change if you ever want to get what you truly desire. If you're ready to change, I am waiting for you in the Council of Alexandria. The biggest lie you tell yourself is that you act autonomously. The more you believe this, the easier you are to manipulate, because, like everyone else, you are a slave of dopamine. This is day 30 of infiltrating thoughts. There's a fundamental rule of the universe. Rewarded behavior will be repeated. Children who stay quiet in class get better grades. A few years later, only a handful of students ever interrupt a lesson. By the time they reach university, that number drops to almost 0. This is simple conditioning. The easiest way to make someone do what you want, therefore, is reward the behavior you like, punish the behavior you don't. Over time, punished thoughts won't even enter their mind, while rewarded ones will become second nature. Think about the media you consume. What opinions get praised? What narratives are pushed? What kind of beliefs make you feel smart, moral, or part of the good side? Every time you repeat a certain viewpoint, you get rewarded. Likes, approval, a sense of belonging, and attention. Every time you question it, you feel pushback, ridicule, exclusion, silence. Over time, your mind adapts. You start believing not because it's true, but because it's safe. If you want to break this cycle, join the Council of Alexandria.